This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. This recording is by Mark Smith of Simpsonville, South Carolina. Uncle Remus by Joel Chandler Harris. Volume 4, His Sayings. Saying number 13, His Practical View of Things.
Brer Remus, is you hearn tell er dese doin's out yer in de udder end of town?
Asked a colored deacon of the church the other day.
What doin's is dat, Brer Ab? Dese yer signs and wonders where dat colored lady died day 'fore yestiddy. Mighty queer goin's on out dere, Brer Remus, sho as you're born.
Spirits? Inquired Uncle Remus sententiously.
Wuss'n dat, Brer Remus. Some say the Judgment Day ain't fur off, and the folks is flockin' round the house a hollerin' and a shoutin' just like they was in the revival. In de window glass there you can see the flags a flyin', and Jacob's ladder's there, and there's writin' on the pane what no man can read. Leastways, there ain't none can read it yet. What kinder racket is this you givin' me now, Brer Ab? I done been there, Brer Remus. I done seed with both my eyes. Colored lady what was in trance done woke up and say dey ain't much time for to tarry. She says she meet a angel in de road, and he pointed straight for the morning star and tell her for to prepare. It look mighty curious, Brer Remus.
Come down to that, Brer Ab, said Uncle Remus, wiping his spectacles carefully and readjusting them. Come down to dat, and there ain't nothin' that ain't curious. I ain't no spicious nigger myself, but I despises for to hear dogs a howlin' and squinch owls havin' to argue out in de woods, and when a bull goes a bellerin' by de house, den my bones get cold and my flesh commences fer to creep. But when it comes to dese yer signs in de air and dese yer spirits in de woods, den I'm out. Den I'm done. I is, for a fact. I been livin' yer more'n 70 year, and I yer talk of niggers seein' ghostes all times of night and all times of day, but I ain't never seed none yet, and dese yer flags and Jacob lathers, I ain't seen dem neither.
Dey are there, Brer Remus.
It's just like I tell you, Brer Ab. I ain't disputin' about it, but I ain't seen 'em. And I don't take no chances these days on dat what I don't see. And dat what I sees I got to examine mighty close. Let me tell you dis, Brer Ab. Don't you let these signs onsettle you. When ole man Gabriel toot his horn, he ain't gwineter hang no sign out in de window panes. And when ole Father Jacob lets down dat ladder of his'n, you'll be mighty apt for to hear the racket. And don't you bother with Judgment Day. Judgment Day's liable for to take care of itself.
Dat's so, Brer Remus.
Hit's bleeds to be so, Brer Ab. It don't bother me. Hit's done got so dat now, when I got a pone of bread, and a rasher of bacon, and enough grease fer to make gravy, I ain't keerin' much whether folks sees ghostes or no. End of saying. Saying 14, That Deceitful Jug. Uncle Remus was in a good mood one evening recently when he dropped casually into the editorial room of the Constitution, as has been his custom for the past year or two. He had a bag slung across his shoulder, and in the bag was a jug. The presence of this humble but useful vessel in Uncle Remus's bag was made the occasion for several suggestive jokes at his expense by the members of the staff, but the old man's good humor was proof against all insinuations.
"Dat er jug's been to war, man. It's one of dese yer old-timers. I got dat jug down there in Putman County when Mars Lisha Ferryman was a young man, and now he's done growed up and got ole and died, and his chilluns is growed up and dey can count der grandchilluns. And yit there's dat jug just as lively and as liable for to kick up devilment as what she was when she come from the foundry."
"That's the trouble," said one of the young men. That's the reason we'd like to know what's in it now." "Now you're getting on marshy ground," replied Uncle Remus. "Dat's de p'int. Dat's what make me say what I does. I been knowin' dat jug now gwine on 65 year, and de jug what's more deceitful dan dat jug ain't on de top side of de world. There she sets," continued the old man, gazing at it reflectively. "There she sets jest as nat'ral as a amber type. An' yit where's de man what kin tell what kinder confab she's a gwine to carry on when dat corn cob is snatched out of her mouth? Dat jug is mighty deceitful, mon." "Well, it doesn't deceive any of us up here," remarked the agricultural editor dryly. "We've seen jugs before." "I bound you is, boss, I bound you is, but you ain't seed no deceitful jug like dat. There she sits a bellyin' out and lookin' mighty fat and full, and yet she'd set there a bellyin' out if there wasn't nothin' but water under dat stopper. You knows dat she ain't got no eggs in her, nor no bacon, nor no grits, ner no tomaterses, ner no shellets, and dat's 'bout all you does know. Dog my cats if de deceitfulness of dat jug don't git away wid me," continued Uncle Remus with a chuckle. "I was comin' 'cross de bridge jest now, and Brer John Henry seed me wid de bag slung onto my back, and de jug in it, and he ups and says he, 'Hey yo, Brer Remus, ain't it gittin' late for watermillions?' It was de deceitfulness of dat jug. If Brer John Henry knowed de color of dat watermillion, I speck he'd snatch me up 'fo' de conference. I 'clar' to gracious if dat jug ain't a caution." "I suppose it's full of molasses now," remarked one of the young men, sarcastically. "Hear dat?" exclaimed Uncle Remus triumphantly. "Hear dat? W'at I tell you? I said dat jug was deceitful, and I sticks to it. I been knowin' dat—" "What has it got in it?" broke in someone. "Molasses, kerosene, or train oil?" "Well, I lay she's loaded, boss. I ain't shook her up sence I drapped in, but I lay she's loaded." "Yes," said the agricultural editor, "and it's the meanest bug juice in town, regular sorghum skimmings." "Dat's needer here nor dar," responded Uncle Remus. "Po' folks better be fixin' up for Christmas now while rations is cheap. Dat's me. When I year Miss Sally gwine 'bout the house whistlin', when I can read my titles clear, and when I see de martins swarmin' after sundown, and when I year de peckerwoods confabbin' together dese moonshiny nights in my end of town, and I knows de hot weather's a breakin' up, and I knows it's 'bout time for po' folks for to be rastlin' roun' and huntin' up der rations. Dat's me up and down." "Well, we are satisfied. Better go and hire a hall," remarked the sporting editor with a yawn. "If you are engaged in a talking match, you have won the money. Blanket him, somebody, and take him to the stable." "And what's more," continued the old man, scorning to notice the insinuation, "dough I hear Miss Sally whistlin', and de peckerwoods a chatterin', I ain't seein' none of dese yer loafin' niggers fixin' up fer to migrate. Dey kin holler Kansas all roun' de neighborhood, but 'ceppin' a man come along and spell it wid greenbacks, he don't ketch none of dese yer town niggers. You year me? Dey ain't gwine." "Stand him up on the table," said the sporting editor. "Give him room." "Better go down here to de calaboose and git some news fer to print," said Uncle Remus with a touch of irony in his tone. "Some new nigger might have broke inter jail." "You say the darkies are not going to emigrate this year?" inquired the agricultural editor, who is interested in these things. "Shoo! Dat dey ain't. I done seed and I knows."
"Well, how do you know?"
"How you tell when crow gwineter light? Niggers been promenadin' by my house all dis summer, holdin' der heads up high and de whites of der eyeballs shinin' in de sun. Dey wuz too biggity fer to look over de gyardin palms. Long 'bout den de weather wuz fetchin' de nat'ral spirits of turkentime out of de pine trees, and de ground was fairly smokin' wid de hotness. Now dat it's gittin' sorter airish in de mornin's, dey don't 'pear like de same niggers. Dey done got so dey'll look over in de yard, and next news you know dey'll be tryin' fer to scrape up 'quaintance wid de dog. When dey passes now dey looks at de chicken coop and at de tater patch. When you see niggers gittin' dat familious, you kin depend on der campin' wid you de balance of de season. Day 'fore yesterday I cotch one of 'em lookin' over my fence at my shotes, and I says I, "Does you wanter purchase dem hogs?" "Oh, no," says he, "I was lookin' at de p'ints." "Well, dey ain't p'intin' yo' way," says I, "and furdermore, ef you don't buy de longer dem hogs, dey ain't gwineter climb out of dat pen and attack you needer," says I. "And I bound," continued Uncle Remus, driving the corncob stopper a little tighter in his deceitful jug and gathering up his bag, "and I bound that my ole musket'll go off 'tween me and dat same nigger yet, and he'll be at de bad end, and dis deceitful jug will fuse fer to go to de funeral." End of saying. Saying 15. The Florida Watermelon. "Look yer, boy," said Uncle Remus yesterday, stopping near the railroad crossing on Whitehall Street and gazing ferociously at a small colored youth. "Look yer, boy, I'll lay you out flat if you come flingin' your watermelon rhymes under my foot. You watch if I don't. You kin play your pranks on dese yer white folks, but when you come a cuttin' up your capers round me, you'll land right in the middle of a spell of sickness. Now you mind what I tell you. And I ain't gwine fer to put up wid none of your sassiness needer, let alone flingin' watermelon rhymes where I kin git mixed up wid 'em. I done had 'nuff watermelons yistiddy and de day before." "How was that, Uncle Remus?" asked a gentleman standing near. "Hit was sorter like dis, boss. Last Tuesday, Mars John he fotch home 2 of dese yer Florida watermelons, and him and Miss Sally sot down fer to eat 'em. Mars John and Miss Sally ain't got nuthin' dat's too good fer me, and de fust news I knowed Miss Sally was a hollerin' fer Remus. I done smelt de watermelon on de air, but I ain't got no better sense dan fer to go when I years white folks a hollerin'. I larnt dat when I wa'n't so high. Leastways, I galloped up to de back porch, and dar sot de watermelons jest as natchul as if dey'd been raised on de ole Spivey place in Putman County. Den Miss Sally, she cut me off a slice, one of dese yer ungodly slices, big as your hat, and I sot down on de steps and wropped myself round de whole blessed chunk, 'ceptin' de rhyme." Uncle Remus paused and laid his hand upon his stomach as if feeling for something. "Well, old man, what then?" "Dat's what I'm gittin' at, boss," said Uncle Remus, smiling a feeble smile. "I sauntered round about a half hour, and den I begin fer to feel sorter squeamish, sorter like I done been an' swallered 'bout 4 pounds off de rough end of de scantlin'. Look like to me dat I was gwineter be sick, and den it look like I wasn't. Bimeby, a little pain showed his head, and sorter meandered round like he was lookin' for a good place for to ketch holt, and den a great big pain jump up and take after de little one, and chase him round and round, and he mus' a cotch him, 'kase bimeby de big pain retch down and grab dis lef' leg and haul him up, and den he retch down and grab de udder one and pull him up, and den de war begun, sho' nuff. For mighty nigh near 4 hours dey kep up dat racket, and des as soon as little pain 'ud jump up, de big one 'ud light onter it and gobble it up, and den de big one 'ud go sailin' round huntin' for more. Some folks is mighty curious, dough. Nex' mornin' I hear Miss Sally a laughin' and singin' and a whistlin', des like der wa'n't no watermelons raised in Florida. But somebody better pen dis yer nigger boy up when I'm on to town, I can tell you dat. End of saying.